Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Gonna give it another second because we got some folks still connecting to audio, so I want to make sure that they can hear. But we will go ahead and get started. So my name is Leah Mudd, and thank y'all so much for joining us for Ask the OLs tonight. I am a second-year graduate assistant with New Student and Family Programs, and I am so excited to have y'all here tonight. To kick us off, I am going to share my screen just to show a little PowerPoint that we have. So of course, welcome. Thanks again for joining, and congratulations. I feel like we tell our students all the time, congrats for getting into Florida State, but I don't think our family members hear it enough. So congratulations to you all as well for having a student at Florida State. We are super excited to have y'all. Wanted to talk a little bit about New Student Family Programs and some of the things that we offer. One of those is Family Connection, and Family Connection is a program that New Student and Family Programs runs, and it really strives to enhance and support student success through connecting their families with Florida State. So through that, we can keep y'all updated on maybe what your student is experiencing on campus, what their day-to-day life may look like, and other updates and things like that. And you can stay connected to us, New Student and Family Programs and Family Connection, through our multiple social media accounts, our email account, and our phone number. So any way that you want to stay caught up with us, kind of see what your student may be experiencing, please feel free to follow us on there to get connected. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And before we get started with our questions, I do want to go over a couple things. You will see that you are unable to mute yourself, and that's simply to manage the noise levels that come through here. We know that there can be some feedback on Zoom, and so really want to make sure that we are taking care of that. Harrison, one of our orientation leaders, just dropped some guidelines to follow while we're on this Zoom call. Please make sure to abide by those during this time that we have together. And before we get started, I am going to let our orientation leaders introduce themselves, and then we'll kick it off. So Nika, do you want to go ahead and get started?
Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Nika Alexandri. I am a second-year student from West Palm Beach, Florida. I'm majoring in exercise physiology, and I'm involved with New Student and Family Programs and the Physician Assistant Club here at Florida State University.
Hey y'all, my name is Harrison Lacayo, and I'm a rising third-year student here at Florida State studying information communication and technology from right here in Tallahassee, Florida. And I'm involved with Florida State's homecoming.
Hey y'all, my name is Vento. I'm a second year studying digital media production. I'm from Miami, Florida, and I'm involved on campus with the film club.
Hey y'all, my name's Gabe. I use the he, him, his pronouns, and I'm from Boca Raton, Florida. I'm a second year student studying accounting at Florida State University, and I'm involved with Habitat for Humanity.
Hi, my name is Jordana Wislow. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm a second year student studying accounting and international affairs from FSU, and I'm involved with the World Renowned Marching Chiefs and the Multicultural Leadership Summit on campus.
Thank y'all so much. You'll notice we do have a couple more orientation leaders here with us tonight, and they are going to be dropping their intros down in the chat. Before we get started, I do want to note that you all are welcome, and we are encouraging y'all to ask questions, but please make sure that you directly chat those questions to Emily, she, her, hers. That way she can go through those and get those sent to me, and we can ask those to our panelists. So again, please make sure you direct chat any of your questions to Emily, and she will get those to me. So to kick us off, y'all, I will have all of our panelists answer this question. And the question is, what is one thing you wish your families knew during your first year of college? Nika, do you want to kick us off?
Sorry about that. I was on mute. And one thing that I wish my family knew is to set up boundaries with me, because they wouldn't know my class schedule. So they'll be calling me in the middle, and I would be unable to answer those questions. And I talk to my mom often, and she'll just call me randomly when I was studying, and I like to focus entirely. So I really recommend before class starts, sending asking your kids for your schedule, for their schedules, make sure that their free time.
Thank you for that question. I think when I reflect back on my first 2 years in college, I wish that my family just kind of would have known how different my experience could have been from theirs. Both of my parents, went to college, had the college experience, but weren't incredibly involved. And when I came to FSU, I jumped headfirst in involvement. Played saxophone in the marching chiefs and became an orientation leader. Just became, just really involved on campus, even beyond classes. So I wish they would have had the context of just understanding that I, didn't have a lot of time to be calling them every second of the day. So I think just having that context would have helped their experience during my first year.
For me, I think it was important for my family, or it would be important for my family to understand that being at a university isn't all academic. There were a lot of changes that I went through my first year that had nothing to do with schooling or anything like that, socially living on your own, learning how to be an adult and stuff like that. So yeah.
I would have to go similar with Bento. My father actually attended Florida State University for law school, and we both went into totally different times. So some of the aspects that he wished he could have influenced me with, unfortunately aren't the same as today. So I'd go with that.
So for my first year at the university, I wish my parents knew that I am capable of being independent. I'm capable of living on my own and taking care of myself. And I know that that's difficult. I'm their first child going to university, far from home, but I am perfectly capable of doing everything, and I still kept in contact with them. So I think that's important as well.
Thank y'all so much. So our next question is going to be for Nika and Harrison. And the question is, what was your greatest accomplishment during your first year of college?
So my greatest accomplishment was probably being an orientation leader. It was like such like a big position on campus where like I was like, okay, like hopefully I get it. And like honestly, like I was a first year student like literally like a few months ago, and like I was able like fortunately to be an orientation leader. I'm just really excited that I got this amazing opportunity. So yeah.
I definitely would echo exactly what Nika just said, but I think another experience of mine that I would argue is one of my greatest accomplishments here, especially during my first year, was when I auditioned for the marching chiefs and successfully made it into the band. I'd always enjoyed music in high school. I was really into band, but I never like really kind of thought of it like on that level. So it was a big accomplishment for me, A, because it's difficult to get into the band, and B, I literally just stepped foot on campus. Like that was literally my first experience at Florida State. And it was just really cool to be able to have that success right off the bat.
Thank y'all so much for sharing. Our next question is going to be for Vento and Gabe. And the question is, what is there to do right now for the students who moved in the last week?
Oh boy, there's a ton. Right now, given everything going on, one thing that I'd recommend first off is getting to know your roommates if you have any, your suite mates if you have any, or the people in your building, whether that's on campus or off campus. I know that for me, it was difficult to meet new people initially attending a university, and especially now with a lot of things being online and stuff like that with COVID going on. Who knows who knows if you want to have like those contacts close by,
One thing that I can advise people to do around campus this time of year, especially during this time of year, is to get yourself motivated and get yourself active. We have the Bobby E. Leach Recreational Center, which one of our other orientation leaders named Paige, she works at. It's a great place. It just reopened. There was a grand reopening due to the coronavirus, and there's lots of workout routines that go on there and workout classes, and the pool is open, but unfortunately the saunas and the hot tubs are not. But if you're too afraid to go to the gym because due to people being too close to you and whatever, we also have a giant campus to take nice nature walks on and to just run along with and stay active.
Thank y'all so much for sharing. Our next question is going to be for Jordana and Nika, and the question is, where can first-year students park on campus?
So on campus, we have multiple different parking garages and parking lots on campus. We have parking passes that are virtual that you can get through, and I'm sure one of our moderators will drop it in the chat for you, transportation.fsu.edu. And you can get a parking pass there to park in any of the student spots on campus. So they are the white spots, not the red ones, which are staff spots. And you can basically park anywhere that has those white spots on campus. So I know that for marching chiefs practice, I use the one by the circus and the parking lot over there, and then all parking garages on campus do have those spots as well.
Jordana did a good job at answering that question. Honestly, like they mentioned, like there are multiple of parking garages, like the student white spaces. Those are available, like to certain time. But I wanna also go on transportation to get a parking permit. But if you're not able to park on campus, there are a multitude of like bus systems. Like there's an app. I used it multiple times during my campus because I was a first year, so I didn't have a car. So I recommend that bus system.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Our next question is going to be for Harrison and Vinto. And the question is, how do I access stuff about my classes and when those classes will be?
Gotcha. Thank you for that question. So the first place you can go is your MyFSU portal. You go into your student center. There is a section where you can look exactly like all your classes, where you would actually go to register for classes to access Schedule Assistant. But there you can see what your schedule is. It'll give you the time and dates, and maybe around this time you may even see what the professor or the staff member that's teaching that course as those things are being solidified. So you can definitely check that out there. And I would also recommend Canvas, which is like our basically the university's learning management system, and that's where a lot of your materials and things should be uploaded by your professors. But you can also access that through MyFSU portal. So definitely check that out.
I don't know if there's much I can add to that. But great answer, Harrison. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. So our next question is going to be for Gabe and Jordana. And the question is, do you recommend renting textbooks or buying textbooks?
That's probably one of my favorite questions, Leah, so I'm so glad I have the opportunity to answer that. Definitely rent, flat out. To buy the books is usually double the cost of what it is to rent them. And, you know, plain and simple, after the class is over, unless you want to continue lecturing yourself at home, but you are able to return the books for a much lower cost than to purchase the book and have, you know, just a lot of trees stacked in on your desk. But definitely rent.
So I would say it depends on what you are capable of doing financially. Our bookstores on campus do offer a lot of things where you can pay off things using your Bright Futures or financial aid. So if you want to, you can bring your list of textbooks to the bookstores or even look them up online if they have them. And that's a great way for you to charge those instead of paying out of pocket for them. A lot of professors also put textbooks on hold in the libraries. So any of the libraries on campus, you can look up for your textbooks under your professor, and you can I think you're able to take pictures of like one chapter at a time or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. But you are capable of utilizing those resources before deciding whether or not you need to rent or buy a textbook. But renting is also great too, and there are a lot of sources to do that, even through other students on campus as well.
Thank you all so much. So our next question is going to be for Nika and Harrison. And the question is how do students get involved remotely?
Okay, so usually like we would go on Know Central, you know, like look up like certain like topics, and then we would like further like see like what events they have. But I feel like now, since like remotely, I think you should still go on Know Central, the app, find their contact information, their Instagram, and see if they posted anything about like Zoom sessions or like online certain stuff. Find like the Facebook, contact like the president maybe of like the club, and see if they have like any like upcoming virtual events.
Yeah, no, definitely echo what Nika said. One other program that I think would plug that they've put together, considering entering this new fall semester, is FSU Anywhere, which is a great opportunity for students to get involved academically, extracurricularly, if they're not necessarily going to be in Tallahassee for the fall semester. So it's a great opportunity that I'm sure we'll get the link dropped in the chat in just a second. So I definitely recommend looking into that. As well as, every semester we have a involvement fair, which is a great way to, kind of learn, meet people from these 700 plus recognized student organizations on campus. This year that'll be held virtually. I'm not exactly sure of the format, but I know that's going to be held in a virtual format for students to access regardless of where they are. So I definitely check that out as well.
Thank you all so much. One other thing that students can also do is virtual FSU. Those events will still be continuing as well. So make sure to keep your eye out for that. But thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. So our next question is going to be for Vento and Gabe. And the question is, who is one friend you made in your first year of college and how did you meet them?
Friends who I met in my first year of college, her name was Emma Johnson. I'm still friends with her. I met her in my residence hall. I lived in Bryan Hall, and she was across the hall, and we would eat at Chick-fil-A all the time. And I learned a bunch of new things from her because we're both very different, and we both came from very different backgrounds. So it was always interesting to have conversations with her.
One friend that I made through my first year at FSU, I can't use his name, but he's going to be my roommate. He lived across the street from me. Technically, I lived in Gilchrist dorm, and he lived residence hall Gilchrist, and he lived in Southgate dorm-like apartments. And we met through mutual friends, and here we are a year and so later, and he's one of my best friends now. I talk to him like every single day, and I'm just really excited to build a bigger relationship with him.
Thank you all so much for sharing. I hope that our family members, students will have the same similar type of experiences. So thank y'all. So this question is going to be for all of our panelists. And the question is, what has been a challenge during college and what is one resource you used to overcome that challenge?
Okay, so for me, since high school, I have struggled with procrastinating. Always, I wait to the last minute. And like for my first year, I was like, okay, I need to like stop procrastinating. And the Academic Center for Excellence provide tutoring services to manage your time. And I took like 2 courses. First we met up, I made my schedule. She gave me like a timesheet of like filling out my schedule. And then I followed up with her to see like how my progress has been. And I honestly recommend it. Like it just like showed me like how to manage my time and how to use the resources on FSU to like show me how to manage my time. And honestly, like since then I've gotten better with like how to do my work. And I recommend everybody to use the Academic Center for Excellence tutoring services.
I think entering college for myself became very achievement, just wanted to be successful towards the end of my high school career, and entered the Florida State community with that same mindset in mind, wanted to make an impact, wanted to find my place on campus, just make something of my college career. So I think in some ways that's presented a challenge in the sense that I attach maybe a little too much of my self-worth to like the achievements I make and the things that I'm doing on campus. And at times it's been great because I've had some really cool experiences and I've been able to do a lot of really cool things at Florida State. But there've been a lot of times, especially like right now, virtually, where it's kind of hard to see where the accomplishment is, to have some of those concrete things to remind you of some of the really great things you got going and the great people around you. And at times that's been really tough mental health wise, and just emotionally. So that's been a challenge that, I wasn't always equipped to handle and wasn't always the first to admit that I needed help in some instances. But the University Counseling Center, especially recently, going back to probably being the last spring semester until now, has been a really great resource for myself. And I would really encourage any incoming student to take advantage of it. There is free counseling available, and it's, college is hard, life is hard, and it's not a bad thing to just have someone to talk to help process things that are going on. So definitely would recommend anyone take advantage of those resources there.
I also have a similar experience with Harrison, but I won't speak about that because he just brought up that resource. But another resource that I used, let's see, there really are so many at FSU that I actually have to think of my favorite, let's say. I'll go with my advisor, to be honest with you, because I have a lot of question marks about, what degree I even want to pursue or what career path I want. And I just had many sit down conversations with her, and she really helped guide me. And she showed me, she's a resource in herself, but she showed me many other resources that would keep me on track for what I wanted to do, and like other clubs and other organizations that I could participate in that would help that. So yeah, my advisor.
Sorry, y'all. I'd have to echo off of Bento because my advisor, exactly what he said. Just I had a bunch of question marks just everywhere. It wasn't just with academics. It was even how do I get to my academics. But definitely the academic advisors are definitely a very big resource to help you, get yourself a little bit more organized and to, kind of to help you relate to what is yet to come. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you for that question. So one thing I struggled with in high school that I continue to struggle with daily in college is asking for help. So an easy way for me to reach out to a professor or a teaching assistant is to just email them. I feel that emailing first to ask, to set up a meeting time rather than just going face-to-face in person is easier to work around that I guess, face-to-face conflict that I kind of struggle with, but I think asking for help is one thing that a lot of incoming students struggle with. But it's important to know that you're not wrong for asking for help or asking questions, and it's actually encouraged that you do, because those teaching assistants and professors are all there to better you as students. And so that's just one thing that I would say that I struggle with, but to definitely utilize the professors and the TAs.
Thanks so much, y'all. And Jordana, that was actually a great segue to the next question that I was going to ask. So this question will be for Jordana and Nika. And the question is, what are the benefits of reaching out to your TAs, your instructors, and building that relationship?
So one of the benefits that I've seen is test score increases. I did not do so well on the test in the past fall or spring semester, and then I went to the TA for help, and immediately the next test score I knew what I was doing wrong and what to study. Another thing that's really good about having that connection with them is that they host Zoom meetings now that we are virtual, just for students that attend sessions like that, or they give extra credit to those students who attend the Zoom sessions, and they give certain passwords out to teaching information that other students in the class are not eligible to look at. So I think that that's one of the perks of having that connection with a professor or teaching assistant, is that there are benefits to it, not only with test scores, but study materials as well.
Okay, so I feel with interacting with TAs, it gets you familiar with them, because then they'll be more lenient to when they see your name, they'll know your name, and then they'll be okay, I won't grade as hard, like Jordana mentioned. And also you get to ask the questions that you weren't able to ask in class, and you get to spend a lot more time with them. I took a test with my TA, and before we went over topics, and then I was asking him questions. Even if every time I see him around campus, I say hi to him. And we sometimes talk about classes that FSU offers. So they also show you future opportunities within that realm, because I'm a STEM major. So he provide me with how to interact with more professors on campus. So that was and I just really liked interacting with them. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Our next question is going to be for Harrison, and the question is, how do you register your vehicle to get a parking permit?
So that's a great question. Thank you for that. So where I would point you is to the Transportation and Parking Services website. I'm sure, I think we may have already had that link dropped in the chat, but I'm sure we could get there and again, get it in there again. But you would just go through, you'd fill out your information. They'll ask for the make, model of your car, the color, license plate number, all those typical things. And then once you submit that, it's free of charge at that point because it's included within like tuition and fees that you're already paying as attending university. So there's no charge there at the time of ordering that parking permit, but you just enter in all that information and then you'll be good to go. So definitely would highly recommend getting that done within the next week or so before your student arrives on campus if they're coming to Tallahassee, especially if they're bringing a car.
Awesome. Thanks, Harrison. Our next question is going to be for Vento, Gabe, and Jordana. And the question is, what is your favorite FSU tradition and why?
My answer to that one is always the same. My favorite FSU tradition is doing the tomahawk chop in any stadium really, but particularly Doak Campbell Stadium probably during football games and the likes, because I grew up a Seminole fan. My parents went to FSU, and it was always really cool to be a part of that, the same tradition that my parents did like 30 years ago.
Very much like Bento, my answer has always been the same. You could even find it in the Hollow Pop pamphlet. And that is when at every home game when Chief Osceola spikes his ignited spear into the 50-yard line while riding on his noble steed, Renegade. And just like Bento, my father, once again, he went to FSU Law School, and I've been doing the FSU everything for the past 20 years of my living, and never would want to do this. Let's just say that.
So thank you for that question. My favorite FSU tradition would have to be something called Campus Crawl. Not sure that we will be able to have that this year, unfortunately, but it is something where the Marching Chiefs, on the very first night of a football game or the night before a football game, would go around campus kind of late at night where it's already dark, and we would kind of sneak around to the residence halls and then start blasting music for a few hours, and we just go around, and then eventually students start to follow us, and it's just really cool, and it just gets everyone hyped up for the football game the next day.
Thank you all so much. And hopefully your students will one day have their favorite FSU tradition as well. So our next question is going to be for Nika and Harrison. And our question is, when will the dining options open and be available for students to utilize, as well as the libraries?
So for the dining options, I'm not so sure about that, but I do know that Strozier did open up today, but instead of 24 hours, it is 12 hours. So from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and there can be no more than a group of 50. Face masks are required. And for Direct Library, which is our science library, I think it opens up next week. So I know about that, but for the dining locations, not so sure about that. But I'm sure that Harrison can get that for y'all.
Yeah, so in regards to the dining locations, we'll get definitely the link dropped. CenemalDining.com is the best resource to use. They keep that up to date with all the information about every dining location on campus, dining halls, and several of the other, drop-in kind of options across campus. So I'm not sure if they're open quite yet, but within at least a week or so, as the beginning of the fall semester approaches, those locations will open. But again, check that link that's about to be dropped in the chat, and you'll find all the information you need there.
Thanks so much, y'all. This next question is going to be for Vento and Gabe, and the question is how often did you talk to your family during your first year at FSU?
I spoke to my family and mainly my parents probably once or twice a week, and it was just a phone call. They live 8 hours away in Miami, so it's in the same state. So that may be less or more than what some family members would do, but that worked for us.
Great answer, bud. I talk to my parents maybe once every 2 weeks. I can't be too sure. I can't be too sure on with my parents, but however, I did call my brother. I have a younger brother. I called him maybe 2, sometimes 3 times a week, just to catch up with him and see how he's doing, because your siblings are your number one best friend. So it's always good to have some kind of long distance connection with them, and even to maybe embrace the relationship a little bit more. So
thank y'all so much. I definitely think with that, it really is just up to whatever works best with your all schedule, so with your student schedule and what y'all have going on and what works best for y'all. And so I don't think that there is one right or wrong answer to that, but I appreciate y'all sharing. This next question is actually going to be for all of our panelists. And the question is, why did you choose FSU?
Okay, so I chose FSU because when I visited, like I think last year, I like was kind of opposed to going FSU. It was like 8 hours away. I didn't want to like burden my mom with that. But when I saw the campus, I like literally fell in love. Like I don't think I've ever went through that before. Like I was just like, I have to go here. And also I'm part of the Center for Academic Retention Enhancement. So they provide me abundance of resources that help me with my journey to FSU, with my to better my transition. So that really helped me. So I'm just glad that Florida State provided me with those resources to like make my time at college a lot smoother.
There are a bucket list of reasons that I could list off as to why I wanted to come to Florida State. But I think for me, being a Tallahassee native, especially, I was familiar with the university. And I also wanted to be an engineering major entering college. And also, as I mentioned earlier, had a really big passion for music and had done band for many years. So I really wanted the opportunity to go to a school where I could study engineering, but also like pursue music at a really high level. And personally, from the research that I did, I didn't think there was a university that offered me the opportunity to do both like Florida State did. I'm no longer an engineering major, but that was still a really great program that I'm glad I had the opportunity to be a part of for a year. And also, you know, the campus is just really beautiful. I remember first time I ever like toured, because I actually hadn't spent a whole lot of time on campus growing up in Tallahassee. Standing on Landis Green, I remember looking around and just seeing the brick buildings and like all the greenery, and remembering like not even being able to remember that I was in Tallahassee. So just really cool experience, great campus, and a lot of great opportunities here.
I wanted to go to FSU in the first place because they had a great film school, FSU Motion Picture Arts, something like that. And that's what I wanted to pursue when I came into, when I initially came to FSU. But, you know, like others have said, there were a bunch of other reasons. Another reason was still paying for in-state tuition, although it was like 8 hours away and felt like a completely different state to me. That was a huge thing. But now that I've been on the campus and seen the campus and done all that, one of the things that I really love about FSU that I did not even like anticipate loving is how well balanced the students seem and how well balanced the administration encourages the students to be. It's not like all academic. There's so many clubs and organizations and social gatherings and activities that they really like encourage you to do, and have definitely made a huge difference in my life. And so, yeah, okay.
Similar to Harrison, I also have a list that can go on for miles about why FSU. But probably my main point of view on why I chose FSU was my father was the first in his family to actually attend a public university. So I guess I'm like second gen for that matter. And I mean, just things happened to me in high school where, you know, they prevented me from getting in, and all throughout my life, I didn't want to go anywhere else but Florida State University. And the day I got in, it was like, and I mean, I didn't even do that hot on my essay. I have friends that didn't get in with 1300s, and, you know, I was just very proud of myself. So my main reason why FSU was to make people proud, make myself proud and my parents proud.
So I chose FSU because I used to be a cheerleader in middle school a long time ago. And I actually cheered at one of the FSU football games right next to the Marching Chiefs. And while being a cheerleader, I was also in band, and I love band. And I would also take time out of cheerleading to go play with the band at the football games in middle school. And so it was a great experience for me. And then just seeing the Chiefs in person that's like my calling to FSU. And I said that I was going to do that one day. And I actually got the amazing opportunity to do that last fall. So yeah, that's my reasoning to choosing FSU.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. Our next question is going to be for Gabe. And the question is how do you purchase dining dollars?
Thank you for that question, Leah. So dining dollars can be purchased through I believe it's through the FSU portal, but it might also be through a separate website where it's the same area, I guess, on the website where you're able to refill with Seminole bucks and Flex bucks and Garnet bucks and all those other kinds of financial things on the MyFSU card. I don't believe it's on a separate website. I'm pretty sure it's on the MyFSU portal where you're able to go to the Student Central and you'll find finances and you're able to type in all your information there. But again, unfortunately, I do not have the guaranteed answer for that, which I apologize for. But yeah.
Thanks so much, Gabe. And then I know that we'll probably get some more links down in the chat as well, as y'all have seen previously. Our next question is going to be for Jordana and Nika. And the question is, what has been your favorite class at FSU so far and why?
So my favorite class at FSU was one that I took in the spring. It's called Spreadsheets for Business, kind of like micro apps, but it's more focused on Excel spreadsheets. And I really like it because I love Excel and I love how it's organized and you can do math from it. And as an accounting major, it's an important aspect to learning accounting and things like that. But I just loved the class. The professor was great and he would throw out extra credit almost every week just for doing well on exams, or he would give you exam extra credit for just knowing things about FSU and certain facts, and he would tell you those facts ahead of time. But it was just a great learning experience and the professor set it up really well, and being virtual and all online, it was really easy to learn and interact with the professor as well as do well in the class.
My favorite class was ENT 2135, which is quite surprising for me because I'm not really that good with writing essays. I'm more of like a math person. And for that class, I have like I really got to talk about my culture and what I grew up with, like learning. And the amount of times that I met up with the professor was so much that like we worked like my final project and like really like worked from like start to beginning. And that helped me so much. Like I said, like I'm not really good at writing essays. I always get bad grades on them. I'm not good at grammar. And the fact that I got to work alongside with the professor kind of showed me like how much work I need to put on an assignment to like get the outcome that I want.
Thank you so much. Our next question is going to be for Harrison and Vento. And the question is, in your opinion, what is one crucial aspect or characteristic of an FSU student?
That is a really good question. I think we've talked about it a little bit with just the experience of being on campus and coming to Florida State. There's so many different opportunities and so many different people and just identities and cultures and different lived experiences that are interacting on this campus every single day. So I think just, I think when I think of someone who's like truly taking in like what it means to be an FSU student, having experience at this university is getting out to meet those people. It's getting to have those experiences that can, kind of challenge how you think and some of those predisposed like notions that you may have about the world, about your life. So I think when I think about, at least from my experience and what I've seen and valued about university, it's, being someone who like goes and is going to seek out just, we are a institution of higher education. So just furthering that knowledge of just getting to meet people, getting to learn about things outside of yourself. I think that's a big key piece of what it means to be a Florida State student.
I had an interruption. I'm sorry. Leah, can you please ask the question again?
Absolutely. The question is what is one crucial aspect or characteristic of an FSU student?
One. Okay, thank you, Leah. One crucial aspect, I spoke about it briefly a little earlier, but I truly believe that, and that's something that I've taken away from being on campus and meeting students, and even being a part of an orientation leader team and meeting all these students who are like very well spoken, like solid leaders, very involved on campus, nice people as well, like have social lives. They're able to balance like so many things, and that's one thing that I'm still trying to learn how to do to balance like various aspects of my life. And attending this university, I've learned I've learned more socially and like personally and emotionally than maybe I have academically, which is that's not to say that I haven't learned anything academically. That's just to show the extent of how much I have learned outside of the classroom.
Thank y'all so much. Our next question is going to be for Gabe and Jordana. And the question is, what dining locations on campus accept the meal plan? And what is your favorite dining location?
Can you repeat the first part of the question, Leah?
Yeah, absolutely. So which dining locations on campus accept the meal plan? And then the second piece of that is, what is your favorite dining location?
Sorry about that. Thank you for repeating the question. Well, you are able, so for locations for dining that are not, I want to say, sponsored by FSU, such places like Chick-fil-A or Subway, you are able to use a meal swipe for the day, but you only get one meal swipe for, I want to say, like an off-campus restaurant that's on campus. It's a value of up to $6, and whatever isn't covered within the $6, you can either pay with dining dollars or with cash, or however you want to finish the payment. But my favorite dining location on campus happens to be the Swanee Dining Hall. I've had lots of meals with some of my great friends on the orientation leader team there. The food is delicious. It's kind of that more home style cooked meal, more than, like Subway. What do you want for dinner? Subway. Breakfast, no, I'm just kidding. But I do like the dining halls that FSU has to offer. But don't forget about the other hors d'oeuvres on campus, such as Steak and Shake and Starbucks. Very important one. And so I'll say about that.
So thank you for that question. Dining dollars, and depending on the meal plan that you get, can be used anywhere on campus. So you can use meal swipes for the dining halls, but then certain locations on campus, so like the Chick-fil-A and the Starbucks and Einstein Bagels, you can use dining dollars that, depending on which meal plan you get, come part of. You can also pay for meal swipes as well. You can pay to get into the dining halls if you do not choose to have a meal plan. So if you're on campus one day and you don't have one, you are still able to eat on campus. But with that said, my favorite dining location on campus would have to be the Strozier Library Starbucks. There are so many times where I'll be in there studying and then I'm like, you know what, might as well just get a little something.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much. Our next question is going to be for Nika and Harrison. And the question is, if you only had 1 year at FSU, how would you spend your time?
Okay, so if I had 1 year, I would probably be spending it abroad because my goal is to like also go overseas, and I was planning on like doing the program through FSU studying abroad. So if I had 1 year, I'd probably like choose one of like the many locations that FSU offers in like Europe, and like choose that and just spend like the whole year there, because I feel like while like learning academically, I could learn about a new culture, like learn a new language. So I feel like that would be like better for me.
I am not exactly sure how realistic this is. But if I just had 1 year at FSU, I think I would attempt to, over the course of that year, like visit a general body meeting or a meeting of every org on campus that I was available to join. Nika mentioned North Central earlier. There's a website of database of all 700 plus student organizations. So I think I would go research those and check out as much of that as I can. And I think I would also attempt to take a class in every department that I could find a class I could register for, just to really, just take in all of the knowledge and just different experiences that Florida State has to offer.
Thank y'all so much. The next question is actually going to be for Harrison and Vento. And the question is, where did you live for your first year at FSU? And what was your favorite thing about where you lived?
So I lived in Landis. Oh, thank you for that question, Leah. I lived in Landis Hall, which is a residence hall. It's right in the middle of campus. And my favorite thing about it was really just the convenience. It was close to everything. I will admit, sometimes I would wake up 30 minutes before class and get dressed, grab something quick to eat from my room, and have plenty of time to get to my class. It was closer. It was also conveniently located next to some dining halls and things. So just a really great location. And I think that was my favorite part. You could walk out the front door and there'd be programming and things going on at Landis Green. So really just neat, good location. Yeah.
I also lived on campus in a resident hall. I lived in Bryan Hall, which was a living learning community. I 100% agree with pretty much everything Harrison said. I also woke up probably 10 minutes before classes start. It is definitely nice to be on campus, and get to know all the resources on campus and stuff like that. I had a lot of friends who were in apartments, and we like had this conversation about, who have you met, or like what clubs have you joined, or all these things. And they've told me that as freshmen, of course, that because they were further away from like the heart of campus, that they didn't feel as involved, or they weren't able to partake in some of those things. So I agree with Harrison in saying that just being able to be literally on campus and live and breathe Florida State adds like a whole new dynamic as a freshman.
Thank you all so much for sharing. My next question is going to be for Jordana, and the question is how do you become involved with internships through FSU?
Thank you for that question. So one way to be involved through internships is to, well, first of all, one way in order to, if you want to stay on campus, so there's something called research at FSU, and it's not really an internship, but it's a way to get involved with other professors and to build connections with them. So kind of like an internship, you're learning that experience on campus, and that is normally sent through the FSU emails. So you're at my.fsu.edu email address for your student, and you can get involved through the summer, fall, or spring semesters, correct me if I'm wrong. But another way to get involved in internships is to look on, it's not Knoll Central, but there's another website for it. If one of our moderators would put that in the chat, please, and thank you. But there is a website for jobs on campus, such as the RA applications, that I'm sure that they also have internships on there as well. Another thing, if you want to get involved with an internship off campus, you can also look on a LinkedIn profile. And I know that a lot of the general business courses that are offered to first-year students or recommended to first-year students offer those as well. And so that's just a great way to get connected to other internships close to Tallahassee, close to campus, and a way for students to get involved and build their profiles.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jordana. And that website is Knoll Network, and so students can go on there to access that. But thanks so much. I really appreciate it. So our next question is going to be for Nika and Harrison. And the question is what is your favorite place on campus and why?
My favorite place on campus would probably be Landis. Every time I walk there, like I like to look around. There's just like, there's a lot of things happening on Landis all the time. So it's always good to like get free stuff. I always get like free shirts. That's why I love Landis. When I'm like walking to class, it's always like a ride, like walking to class and you just see something, you're like, that's interesting. And it wakes you up and you just like go to class and like, it's just like, it's so like lively. It's not chaotic, but it's like a nice chaotic. And I really enjoy that. I know I think it's a planetarium on campus. I really want to go to that, but there's like, you like a certain amount of people to go. And that is what I'm looking forward to going when it opens, if it opens. So if I could go to that, that would probably be one of my favorite locations.
This is really tough now because Nika definitely took my favorite place on campus. I think I would have to say, if not Landis Green, Westcott Fountain, and just like that backdrop of that location. You have probably seen a picture of it if you've done any research of Florida State online. Really iconic place. A lot of really cool traditions associated with that fountain, just that location. It's just really pretty. I've definitely gone out there like on weekends just to sit, and chill and just enjoy the atmosphere. So definitely a really cool spot on campus, and I hope y'all get to check it out.
Thank y'all so much. So my next question is going to be for Vento, Gabe, and Jordana. And the question is, oh, sorry, I lost my question. The question is, what is one thing that you want to be known for after you graduate from Florida State?
It's a great question, Leah. What is one thing that I want to be known for? Wow. Well, I think I'm off to a good start by joining this organization. Being an orientation leader has taught me a ton of great things and got me in contact with a bunch of great people who I hope to keep in touch with for a long time. At the end of my 4 years at FSU, I want to feel like I've done enough, like I've exhausted all the resources that FSU has to offer, because there really are so many. Even as an orientation leader, like we're taught about all these resources, and I'm continuously learning. Like, and we've had this position for a while because there's so many things that, because of this job and because the resources have been shown to us, that I'm definitely going to partake in the next 3 years at Florida State.
One thing that more or less it's kind of towards myself, but it's also maybe for, you know, everyone that helped me get to where I am supposed to be in the future. And, you know, that's that I use my time very worthy, and I accomplished lots of things at FSU. This is where I kind of bring in the self-satisfaction of myself, but, you know, kind of relating to one of the previous questions that I answered about bringing pride to myself and to my family. And, you know, it's important to put yourself on the map, and people know your name. And that's what I'd like to leave at FSU.
So I would like to leave FSU showing other students who are in my position that they are capable of doing great things. So I've went through like an injury in the past and things that have just stopped me or should have stopped me in being successful and put a damper on that, but I didn't let it. And so one thing I want to show other students or to be remembered for is perseverance, just to get you through. You are capable of doing what you want to do and pursuing what you need to do to get there, taking part in other things and putting yourself out there. You are capable of it, and that's just one thing I want to be remembered for.
Thank you all so much. So our next question is going to be for Nika and Harrison. And the question is, what was your greatest lesson during your first year at FSU?
Ooh, sorry about that. My computer is dying. My greatest lesson would probably be that it can happen to you too. Like you can, okay, so in high school I did pretty well, and I like didn't think I needed to study for certain classes, and I thought it was gonna be like a breezy ride. That was not the case. It was a lot harder than I thought. I just needed to put in a lot more work than I thought I needed, and I need to use a lot more resources. When people say to like rewrite your notes, go to your professor, make a study group, they were not like kidding. Like some of the classes at Florida State can be rigorous, and the amount of work that you need to put in is a lot. And honestly, like, and then being able to balance that with your other classes, that's like what I learned. That I just learned that, like, also like that it can also happen to you too. That it's all right if it happens to you, that you can still move on from your failures in life and still move on to be able to be successful in the future.
I think for myself, being someone who I mentioned earlier, especially as I entered college, was very achievement driven, was very wanted to make an impact, wasn't sure exactly where he was going to make an impact, but knew he wanted to do it. And probably, you know, sometimes I might bite off a little bit more than I can chew when it comes to like the combination of academics involvement and things. I think the biggest lesson that I learned during my first year of college, and I'm still working on it, is just being able to like manage all of the things I want to do with my health, whether that be emotional or physical or mental, and just, you know, realizing that I can do all of the things, but I have to be really intentional with the way I take care of myself and what I spend my time in. And there's a lot of things, all of the things I'm involved in are very worthy of my time and all of the energy I put into it. But I have a finite amount of that to give out. And, you know, it's I just learning to be very intentional with where I'm putting that time and energy to just make the most out of this experience, and what I'm doing for the university now and what I'm going to take away from it when I graduate in 2 years. So just finding that balance, I think, is definitely something I haven't quite done yet, but it's definitely something I recognized very quickly when I started FSU.
Thank you all so much. And I think what Nika said is a great segue to my next question. So my next question is going to be for Vento and Gabe. And the question is, what is one tip for academics to help with the transition between high school and college?
So I can speak about one tip that works for me, but I just want to keep in mind that every student is completely different, and the environment that they may thrive in may not be the environment that I thrive in. But I liked being around people who were doing like productive work. So that pretty much means like a library or any building that has like shared student spaces to study. My favorite place to go was a place called Dodd Hall. It was beautiful. And yeah, that's what worked for me. Just like big quiet spaces with a bunch of other fellow students doing the work made me feel like I was in the right place to do my work as well.
One tip that I can offer for the transition between academics is time management. Be very good with your timing, because it is very different. The classroom, like the homework, like the studying, like the test, like it's all very different from what I went to high school with and pursued in. Me myself, I never really am that much of a doer and go outer. But this is just plain and simple. Do not tell your students, or if the students are in here, do not go out as much as you want to. You need to study. It's very important to maintain your grades and take the time to prep yourself for your classes to succeed. And then once homework's done and everything is successful, then you may go out, maybe. But for the most part, please know your time, know your worth, and know what you can accomplish in that frame.
Thanks so much, y'all. I definitely want to reiterate what Vento said. There's not a one size fits all study tips or anything like that. And so I think with your student, just reiterating that it's okay, it takes time. You may just need to try a couple things out and see what works for them. So thank you all so much for sharing. And I think we have time for one more question. So this final question is going to be for all of my panelists. And the question is, what is one piece of advice you would give to a first-year student?
Okay, so one piece of advice would be that y'all could beat the odds. I know that with everything happening with Corona, like you might think that like it's like really like a difficult time because this might be your first year and you're online. But just know that everything's gonna be okay. There's gonna be a time in the future where we're gonna come back stronger than ever. You're gonna be able to experience Florida State campus in all its glory.
I think the piece of advice that I would give, and this honestly kind of goes for students and family members, is to break out of your comfort zone, to be open-minded as you're starting a journey at Florida State. I think one of the worst things that you can do is feel like you have to fit into a certain group of people, that you have to do a certain organization or a certain involvement or believe a certain thing for your entire college career. And as I talked about earlier, I think one of the best things that I've gotten out of this experience is just expanding just who I am as a person, and the knowledge that I know and the experiences I'm familiar with. So I think just really going into it with an open mind, and as family members here on this call, just really encouraging your student to take on those experiences. They talk about something that's maybe new, something little maybe outside of what their experience was in high school, talk to them about it, encourage them if it's something that they genuinely want to do. I think that's a really important piece of not only starting them off successfully here at Florida State, but also just continuing to build and enrich y'all's relationship, as family member and student.
I totally agree with what Harrison and Nika just spoke about. Another thing I could add, and again, this is for some students probably, other students may go the other way, but to remember every now and then to stop and smell the roses. we're in college or we're at a prestigious university to become educated, along with many other things, but reminding yourself that like you're college students, you have more freedom than you've ever had in a bunch of positive ways, and that can be used in a bunch of positive ways. And to just keep that in mind and remember to have fun every now and then, like to not get too stressed with everything.
For first years, be who you are. Don't be someone that you're supposed to be. Don't be someone that even your parents sometimes might want you to be. This is more or less for the students. But be who you are, and don't be afraid to be who you are because of who you are around. There's this Florida State is one of the most diverse universities in America, and there's just an innumerable amount of the kinds of people that you will meet, and someone will want to meet you, and lots of people will want to meet someone for who they are because of who they are. So be yourself, and don't let anyone tell you to be someone who you're not.
One thing I would tell first-year students is something that I wish I would have known, is to take care of yourself more. You are away from home, and though you might not be able to go home, take care of yourself emotionally and physically. There are many campus resources such as Leach Center and ways to get active. There's also ways for like the University Counseling Center if you're not doing well with testing, for testing anxiety, things like that. And there's also the Center for Advocacy, Health and Wellness. They offer student organization things and tips such as planners that you can print for you if you don't know what's going to work for you, but just so many different resources to keep your overall health and well-being up to par.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing. And thank you to our students and family members who are with us tonight. That will wrap up our time that we have together. Of course, you can always reach out to New Student Family Programs if y'all ever have any additional questions. But please give a round of applause to our orientation leaders and our moderators that were with us this evening. Again, congratulations to our family members and our students. We are so excited to have y'all at Florida State, and really thank you for participating and being engaged tonight. And y'all have a good rest of your Monday. Bye, y'all.
Welcome to Florida State.